Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back here to the launch pad. Depending where you're watching from, let us know in the chat, but good evening, good morning, or good afternoon. Here at the launch pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and you're watching our live launch coverage of Arianespace and their launch of their Vega rocket here tonight. We're expecting them to go live with their live coverage in about 15 minutes, so this is a little bit of a pre-show. Here to answer your questions, talk through what we're expecting to see tonight. This is another one of these broadcasts with them that we may not see too many views of the rocket, but we will, of course, bring those to you when we have them. But I see lots of people just jumping in, so let us know where you're watching from. We got Aiden from Puerto Rico, Silly's in Minnesota. I know we've got Kieran over in the UK, David's in the UK. Great to see you all here. I'm up in Canada. So yeah, as always here on the Launchpad, we love answering your questions, so you can send those in using hashtag AskTLP or tag us at the Launchpad, and that's a great way of making sure that I or our mods see your question and are able to answer those. Take a moment, share the broadcast if you haven't yet, and if you're new, welcome. My name's Zach. I am the founder and host of the Launchpad, and so glad you're here. Invite you to join our crew by engaging that subscribe button and hitting the like. It really does help us out, and it's free to do so. Good to see you all here. We got Jerzan from Malaysia. Hello. Joe from Hong Kong. Great to see you. Another Joe from Tennessee. Great to see you here as well. Glad to have you all here. We're going to do a quick run through of what we're expecting to have here tonight. This is an Arianespace launch, launching from the launch location of ELV-1 in the Guiana Space Center in the French Guiana. Today's payload mass is up to 980 kilograms or 2,200 pounds and has a number of different customers. There are 5 satellites on board, including Airbus Defence and Space, Unseen Labs. There's a French one Italian one, from the University of Rome. There's the MTA Center for Energy Research and a SETAIL. I'm sure we will learn more from Arianespace once they go live. All the satellites are going into a 700 by 700 kilometer sun synchronous orbit, or an SSO. The Vega rocket is not reusable, so we're not going to see anything like that, and the booster will eventually crash into the Atlantic Ocean. This is the second Vega launch we've seen so far this year. We covered the last one a little while ago. It's the 19th launch in Vega's history, the 44th launch from this launch site, and the 78th orbital launch already of 2021. As the year progresses, that number is definitely going to get into the hundreds. We know SpaceX and Rocket Lab have quite a packed end-of-year schedule, and we're excited to finally have another Falcon 9 launch on the schedule. It has been a while, but at the end of August 28th, we finally have that CRS mission. Then we have Inspiration 4 on September 15th, and we are sure there are going to be a number of Starlink missions scattered in there as well. But if you're just joining us, welcome. Take a moment, let us know where you're watching from, and glad to answer any questions you have. Silly, love the background. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Worked hard on it. The studio will be changing, so enjoy it now. The studio, once we come back from our on-location tour with Inspiration 4 and Starbase, which if you don't know about that, click on the link that's pinned in the description. Take 2-3 minutes right now to watch that update about what we're going to be doing. But the studio, when we come back, is going to be probably moving out of this room into a larger space, and we are excited to be able to grow that and bring some even better coverage to you guys soon. But we like it there. Mr. Sharkbite, that's fantastic. Virginia, good to see you. I see Bezos is still throwing a hissy fit regarding the HLS contract. Yes, Virginia, he is. If you haven't seen that update as well, today Jeff Bezos officially sued NASA. I don't know why I'm smiling. It's kind of funny to me that is actually happening. But Blue Origin is keeping it up and keeps fighting. A lot of employees have expressed that this is not their wishes. They do not support this. And are even kind of breaking some of their contracts of speaking out against the company. So we wish them well. I even put it out when we were sharing our link out, to the employees of Blue Origin. Keep up the work. You guys are doing hard work. You're literally doing rocket science. Your leadership isn't only you. You guys, can be very different. So keep it going. If Blue Origin isn't the place, I'm sure many others are out there hiring. I know today we saw Dynetics just did a really nice casual "Our team's growing" post apply online. So, but keep up the work, keep the faith on it. Competition's important, and just sadly this isn't going super smoothly there. But it's kind of funny to see, and we are expecting it to get thrown out of court. But we'll see what happens. It's the U.S. court system. And maybe it will go through. I don't want it to go through, but I really want to see what evidence they're going to try to present. I really want to see where they think NASA went so wrong, rather than just saying it. So we'll see what happens. Silly, if I had room, I would love models of all the SpaceX stuff and other space stuff. Absolutely, Silly. Well, the nice thing is we do have some smaller models from our friends over at Behimzo that, I'd lift up a pop cam, but here, this is normal glass. Compared to a glass, it's a good size. It's nice on your desk, at work or school or at home. Doesn't take up too much, or next to your TV while you're watching. You can have some there. So those are nice. You can definitely check those out at Behimzo. Some of the bigger models from our friends Starship Balls with the Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy there do come in other sizes, and we're working on getting some links for you guys as well on that, so you guys can enjoy some of those models. But if you don't have room for the 5-foot models, don't worry, there are other options as well. But if you're just joining us, we're expecting ESA and Arianespace to go live here in about 10 minutes with their live coverage. Liftoff is scheduled, I believe it's about 20 minutes after that. So it'll be pretty quick time here together for today's launch. But they'll break down all the different satellites. There are 5 satellites on board. A few of them are joining some kind of sister satellites that have been launched previously for it. So definitely another launch under the belt for this year. Silly, like they only had a certain amount of money. Absolutely. Yeah, they only had a certain amount of money for the NASA contract, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll get more. Silly, yes please, I'll make some room. Absolutely. We're working to get our website up, hopefully in time for when we're live on location, if not right after. And on there, we're going to have all of our partner links. We're going to have some stuff available that we're selling, as well as some of our prints. I'm really excited for some of the stuff we're going to be photographing while we're down at Kennedy and Cape Canaveral, as well as Starbase and Johnson Space Center. We've confirmed that we will be getting in there and visiting the astronaut training facility and stuff as well. So we'll have some awesome photos that we're going to be able to sell digital prints to you guys, but also physicals if you are ever interested in it. I'd love the 5-foot models. I'd want a Starship on the same scale too, but that would be about... Yeah, the Starship, it is an option. In the bigger studio, it might be something we're looking at getting. We wouldn't be able to fully stack them, but we're looking at getting them. It's quite large. It's about 8.5 feet tall if you fully stack them, and they're absolutely massive. But we'd love to have them in the studio, and we'll see if we can get those in there. Thanks to your guys' support, we would love to have them there. In the new studio, we're going to be setting some of these up where I can actually be next to them, speaking to them as we're doing live coverage about what we're expecting to see. Silly just got one of the rover shirts. So excited. Awesome, Silly. Thank you so much. I saw that come in. Thank you so much. We'll get that out to you here probably in the next couple of days. It should be shipped pretty soon. But thank you so much for supporting us in that way, and I hope you enjoy it. If you can, when you get it, if you want to take a picture or even just write a review, that really helps out the shop for it as well. You need a 15-foot tall ceiling. You need some ceiling height, absolutely. But before we pull up Arianespace and what they're going to be showing us here, their live views, as always, make sure you have followed us on all of our social medias here on the bottom. There they go. Obviously, the most important ones we're going to be talking is YouTube, making sure you've subscribed so you never miss a live launch, interview, or news update. Then follow us over on Twitter. We try to live tweet any breaking news as it happens. And then we are also on Facebook and Twitch and stuff like that. And then make sure you join our Discord community. We got Discord pulled up here. You're welcome to join the live comms or the live hangout chat area. That's a great way to be able to listen in live without the YouTube delay and have your input. But keep YouTube open. That does help. And if you'd like to support our channel, there's a few ways: the GoFundMe, Patreon, or YouTube memberships, or super chats or super stickers. But those aren't expected, but they're greatly appreciated. They help us be able to continue what we're doing. But also just by watching those 5-second, 10-second ads at the beginning, believe it or not, that really does help make what we're doing possible. So I appreciate you guys watching through those. I know they can be annoying, but we try not to put them too frequently through our videos. I love all the rovers. Spirit, Curiosity are my favorite. Absolutely. I am a fan of the rovers myself. Personally, having had my name on a few of them. This one was for the Phoenix rover that went to the Arctic part of Mars. Also, was our family's names were on Spirit and Opportunity, and then on Perseverance. So my name's scattered around Mars. Maybe one day we'll be able to be there and see one of those rovers in person. Hey Alex, good to see you. Glad to have it here. And you can have a great laugh with us on Discord too. It's true. Discord's always happening. There's always something happening in the Discord for it. Well, besides my Perseverance, she's a good... Perseverance is a cool rover. Hey Kieran, good to see you. Thanks guys for being here. Hey Leo, hello from Melbourne, Australia. Great to see you here. Don't know why that just came in now. Looks like it was a little bit older, but good to see you here. But yeah, we're going to pull up the countdown clock that we are having from Arianespace as they'll be getting ready for their live coverage of the Vega rocket here. That's an image of what the rocket will be looking like and launching from the French Guiana here tonight. Carrying 5 satellites into a sun-synchronous orbit. Of course, not a reusable rocket. And I believe it's a 4-stage rocket that they are launching here tonight. And of course, they will, I'm sure, give us some animations for it. But the Vega rocket is part of the same rocket family of the Ariane 5 and the future Ariane 6 from ESA and Arianespace. Virginia, I saw the video regarding Mars and what they found. It also experienced dust. Regarding Mars and what they found, it also experienced dust devils as well. I literally saw it finding out Spirit stopped responding. Yeah, it was sad when that happened. When Spirit stopped responding, and then when Opportunity, you know, those are big moments that those rovers finally, you know, surpassed their lifespan. But we have to remember, most of these rovers were only supposed to work for like 6 months to a year at max. And some of them were lasting years, over a decade. Which is just showing the innovation and just, yeah, the perseverance of those teams of developing rockets and rovers that are able to get a rover, using a rocket, get a rover to Mars, but then also be able to have a rover sustain itself and survive for many years and cycles is really critical and exciting to see. And we're just getting better and better at it, which is just going to mean that we're going to have rovers lasting even longer. And we're going to have opportunities to study these planets even longer and more detailed. Hey Matt, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Thanks so much. Yeah, we try to cover everything space and space flight. We're about 3 the right accurate time. 1:47 UTC. So we are currently about 15 minutes away, I believe it would be at that point, from liftoff of the Vega rocket carrying the 5 satellites to orbit. But if you're just joining us, let us know where you're watching from. We would love to hear from you. Ooh, looks like we might have frozen. We still good? Are we surviving? We're looking at 700 kilometers tonight. Yeah, it is freezing up, isn't it? Let's see here. Let's try to adjust. We had some issues earlier today, so we're going to see if we can stabilize this here. We're going to give that a try, see if that stabilized it here. Thanks for bearing with me there, guys. We know we did have some little bit of hiccups earlier today with the internet, and we are working on getting that stabilized to a better stream, so we're able to bring you guys that better quality here, and we're going to listen in here as they get ready to launch tonight's rocket, and they'll give us an update hopefully on what we can expect here tonight.
And a very big welcome to you. You're joining us live at the Guiana Space Center for the 7th launch this year. And it's a hot and humid night on the edge of the Amazon rainforest, right on the equator here in French Guiana. I'm Katie Haswell, and our interpreters are Mark Fermat and Christopher Jack. They're going to be translating me for our French-speaking viewers tonight. And we are traveling on board a Vega rocket. She is flight number VV19. There she is, standing tall on the pad, about 30 meters tall, in fact, and weighing in at around 140 tons. She's got 5 satellites on board waiting to start their journey, tucked up inside the top of the launcher. And our main passenger tonight is Pléiades Neo for Airbus Defence and Space Intelligence, or Pléiades as some of us Brits and Americans call it. It's the 2nd satellite in their Pléiades Neo constellation. We launched the first one 4 months ago, and we're launching the next 2 on Vega C. And I have to say, these are literally groundbreaking satellites. They're going to provide crystal clear photographs of our planet with a resolution of up to 30 centimeters, and take it from me, that's very, very high res. And inside the fairing alongside Pléiades Neo, we have 4 other auxiliary passengers, all microsatellites actually, riding along as a piggyback. They are Bro4, for the European company Unseen Labs. And then we have 3 satellites for the European Space Agency. They are SUNSTORM, Fly My Satellite LEDSAT, and RADCUBE. And you can see all of their logos there on the fairing. So we're scheduled to launch in just under 7 minutes, 7.5 minutes. And the countdown's up on the top right-hand side of your screen. At this point before the launch, all eyes are on what we call the status panels. Here they are, right-hand side of the screen there. They're showing us basically the status of all the systems across the base which send their go, no-go status. And they're up here on these panels. So they're showing us 3 main systems primarily. We've got the range, which is basically the base, and the tracking stations dotted along the flight path, and also the rocket and the status of the pads. And then, of course, at the bottom we've got Meteo, which is the weather. We've had the last weather forecast about 10 minutes ago, and that was all green, so that's good to know. Looking here at the operational teams inside the fishbowl, this is the flight desk, or the flight directorate. These are Arianespace top management. Going to be on the phones, no doubt, throughout the flight. They will be taking all the decisions in the event of unplanned situations. And we have a number of different teams working within the Mission Control Center, and each one of those teams has their own dedicated desk within what we call the fishbowl. I don't know if you can see, they've got glass between them and the VIP seats on the other side there, which is why we call it the fishbowl. A couple of other key people. Bruno Gérard there, head of Arianespace Kourou. The fishbowl is made of very toughened glass to protect everybody, and it's actually, if you knock on it from the outside, the people inside can't hear what's going on. Many of these teams have actually been working in French Guiana now for some months preparing for today, and it's called the launch campaign. This campaign started on the 22nd of June with preparations on the launcher. The auxiliary passengers were prepared partly in the Czech Republic. And operational teams for our satellites here. And also in French Guiana. And then the work had to start on the satellite itself. And here we've got the boards that everybody is looking at. You can see the status panels on the left-hand side there, showing us those status. We've got the time, the countdown times there on the left-hand side as well. Images of the launch vehicle on the pad. And then we're looking at trajectory, etc.
So we're currently sitting at T-minus 4 minutes and 20 seconds until launch. As we could see on their screen, they looked like everything was go. Now we're seeing in that reflection, and I don't like it, there are 2 red bars there. So we're going to listen back in to see if we hear any updates on that.
And he's just announced the beginning of the synchronized sequence, or the automated sequence, the last 4 minutes of the final countdown. Our range operations manager is Jean-Luc Voyer, and he's the one, he actually coordinates the launch-based systems during the final countdown, and he also calls out all the major events during the flight, so listen out for him. I'll be translating him throughout the flight, and he's going to be telling us what's going on and keeping us up to speed. In fact, everybody across the whole base will be listening to him, and indeed the men and women in the tracking stations, even in Australia. A good shot there of our launcher on the pad. We've got a number of different pads here at the spaceport. We have 3 pads with their associated buildings. This is the Vega launch site, or launch site SLV it's known as, Site de Lancement Vega. And it was actually built on the launch pad for the first Ariane rocket. That was Ariane 1. Some of you might remember it launching. It was on Christmas Eve, 1979. And then when we get a closer look, you can see the umbilical lines which are connecting the launch vehicle to the umbilical tower. And the feed lines are taking, here we have the teams from Arianespace, who are the link with the customer, program directors, Beatrice Romero and Fabrizio Fabiani.
T-minus 2 minutes and counting. Let's see that go, no go in the chat.
Feed lines, when we get another look at the launcher, you can see the feed lines which carry the electricity and communications with the satellites. We call those the umbilical lines, and they get disconnected just before the launch. The final countdown started just over 6 hours ago. The mobile gantry was removed just under 4 hours ago. Now we're coming up to the final minute.
À tous les DDO, attention pour moins 1 minute.
T-minus 60 seconds.
And he's just announced that we are 1 minute to launch. We're delivering Pléiades Neo for Airbus Defence and Space, along with Bro 4 for Unseen Labs, SUNSTORM, LEDSAT and RADCUBE for the European Space Agency. I'm going to turn my mic off now and give our very best wishes to all the teams. Let's watch.
T-minus 30 seconds.
À tous de DDO, attention pour les décomptes finales. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6,
5, 4,
4,
3, 2, 1, 0.
Top.
Ignition and liftoff. And it just launches off that pad.
Décollage UV19.
What a gorgeous night launch.
Et sur prestation de Saint-Jean.
What a sight. They are off. Vega streaking across the night sky, lighting up the skies over the spaceport, over the Amazon rainforest. Our passengers have started their journey. Pléiades Neo, Broforce, SUNSTORM, LEDSAT and RADCUBE are on their way. It's a huge moment for everybody who's involved. It must be quite something watching your babies lift off from the pad. Getting a great view here. We can still see the launcher 1 minute and 25 seconds after liftoff. We're looking here at the...
Trajectoire est nominale.
He's telling us that everything's going according to plan. We were looking back there at the main or the first stage, the P80, the engine of the P80 it's known as, burning. We tucked in behind the clouds for a bit, but we came out again, so we got a great view. This is what it looks like up there in space.
Stand by for separation.
With our CGI images giving us a great view.
And separation and engine ignition.
Have confirmation there of separation of the P80, and the Z23 has switched its engine on. We are hurtling through space. Look on the right-hand side of your screen. At the bottom, vitesse is speed. We're traveling at the moment at 2.35678 kilometers, and we're getting faster and faster. We began the dogleg maneuver. We were rising up into space, and then we turned towards the north, heading towards what we call a sun. He said the trajectory is nominal or normal. Heading towards a sun-synchronous orbit, which means we're virtually going north to south. Good view there of our launcher on the right-hand side. And on the bottom left, you can see that's our trajectory, we call it. It's the planned trajectory. And the white cross is the actual position of the launch vehicle. Take a look at what we call the fairing, the front of the vehicle. You can just about see on the bottom of it a line. That's because the fairing is made of two halves, and it's going to open like a petal.
Stand by for separation.
When it separates. Now leaving Earth behind us. Trajectory is nominal. We're climbing. Look at the altitude, bottom right of your screen, 127 kilometers. And climbing.
Stage separation.
And we have separation there of the Z23 and beginning of the roll motion.
And ignition.
Switch the engine on of the Z9.
Fairing separation.
The Z9 engine. And we have separated the fairing. Did you see how it came away? All perfectly planned. We don't need the fairing anymore because we're out of the friction of the atmosphere. So we're effectively
I just have to say, I hope it's
We
perfectly
are
planned, because we're talking about a rocket launch here. So I would hope everything's going to a perfect plan when we're talking about launching 5 satellites. Just a thing.
See our satellite
est nominal.
for the first time, the gold structure on the right-hand side. That is Pléiades Neo. All folded up right now, all nice and neatly packed together, but later, after it's released, it'll unfold its wings, just like a butterfly coming out of its chrysalis.
Looking at that trajectory image they had on their screen, it actually looked like it was just a hair above its trajectory. But obviously they're still happy with the trajectory, and it's all nominal.
From the launch pad at the CSG, the Guiana Space Center in French Guiana on the northeastern coast of South America, the tracking station there is Galileo, and we're heading towards the next tracking station in Bermuda in the Caribbean. And there you get a better view there of the conical payload adapter. And then to the left of that is the big tank burning
Pression
its
est nominale.
fuel. So we're heading towards a sun-synchronous orbit. That means that our satellite will always be in the same fixed position relative to the sun. So that's very useful for Earth observation. Oh wow, look at that. It's really, really interesting watching how these maneuvers happen in space. And these images are the CGI images, which have been very carefully planned, and all the information has been put into the computer and reproduced these.
She
really
seems comfortable with that movement, so
graphics.
we're going to say it's good.
So the sun-synchronous orbit is very useful
When that happened with India, things did not go well. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But she seems
same place at the same time.
okay so
Every day.
far,
So for example, our
but we're going to keep an eye on it. That seemed quite
at noon.
sharp.
The launch is operating remotely.
Neuf.
And
Separation.
Separation of the final stage there, which means we're now really entering the next phase of our flight. The Z9, the third stage, has been jettisoned. And this means that the propulsion phase of the launch is now over. We've got ourselves away from Earth and we're on orbit, and we're getting a great view of the Avum upper stage. So this here, I'll describe that to you in a second when we come back to it, but right now we're looking again, we're heading...
Puissance de l'atténuation pour la station de Bermude.
Right, we've picked up the signal at the Bermuda tracking station. Now, look at this. These boxes, which are attached to the payload adapter, are called deployers, and inside those are our CubeSats. Our CubeSats are made of 10-centimeter cubes, so they fit very, very neatly inside there. It's really quite beautifully planned. And later, once they get released, they're going to pop out of those boxes, just like Jack-in-the-Boxes.
What we're expecting from what we saw there with that sharp adjustment is that the fact that I had said they looked like they were just slightly above their trajectory is that it actually probably pivoted really quick just to pull that trajectory back down to the actual targeted orbit that they wanted. They seem happy with it. And then we're waiting for these Jack-in-a-Box satellite deployments. And there is ignition as well again.
Has switched on its engine, that's confirmed. So this is really the next stage of the flight now, because the Avum upper stage is going to transport our satellites to their destinations in space. And that is a very, very important job, because each satellite has to be positioned in a very precise orientation and in a very precise location.
La trajectoire est nominale.
He's telling us that the trajectory is nominal. And the Avum upper stage, it actually stands for Attitude Vernier Upper Module. I call it Avum because I'm a Brit, but it is often known as well as Avum.
Pilotage est calme.
He says the pilotage, the piloting, is calm. And it's a very useful piece of kit because it gives us huge flexibility and allows us to perform all kinds of very complex missions. it means that Vega can launch all kinds of different satellites, and it's particularly suited to these kinds of Earth observation missions for governments, space agencies, and of course today, private companies. Bit of technical information. The AVUM is 1.5 meters wide. It weighs approximately 1.3 tons. It's made of aluminium
La propulsion est nominale.
with titanium tanks, and it burns liquid propellant. Like many upper stages, it can switch its engine on and off. And it's the smart stage. It's the one with the brain. It's the clever bit. It's housing the computer, as I mentioned, the avionics and that sort of thing. And then attached to it is the conical structure, the payload adapter, which then allows us to attach our upper passenger, the Pléiades Neo main passenger, and AVUM, or AVUM, has now started what we call orbit-optimized guidance attitude. That means that once it switches its engine on, it can continually recalculate its position to make sure that it's exactly on the right course. And if it does deviate, it can correct itself and come back to the correct trajectory. So it's pretty clever stuff.
Acquisition de la télémesure pour la station de Saint-Hubert.
And we've picked up the signal now at the next tracking station. It's in Saint-Hubert, or St. Hubert, and that is in Quebec in Canada, just outside Montreal. The aerospace industry is very important over there. The Canadian Space Agency has its head office in the borough. And Europe's blessed with a family of launch vehicles which can take pretty well any kind of satellite to any kind of orbit. And that's important because these days space really is the gateway to a very exciting future, I'd say. Miniaturization is the order of the day, and the market for small satellites is quite literally booming. And these changes are driven by, well, a number of things, but of course the climate crisis is one of those things. As you well know from the newspapers and the reports recently, July was the hottest month ever. And we're seeing floods, we're seeing heat waves, we're seeing fires, people are dying. Our planet's climate is changing faster than we'd thought. Airbus are doing their part. Their growing fleet of Earth observation satellites can really help to provide very irrefutable data for understanding what's happening to our planet. But it can also help us to plan for disaster management. Satellites and satellite images are all about knowing what's on the ground. So if you know what's there, you know how to adapt, and the more detail you have, of course, the more efficient you can be. So, for example, it might help in planning how to evacuate a hospital or an old people's home, for example, in the case of a flood, if you've got very, very accurate imagery. So this is important stuff. What we're doing today is very, very important. Well, the other thing, of course, that's transforming our lives is our hunger for the internet. We might be living increasingly online these days, you know, but the truth is we're really still at the beginning of this digital revolution. And in the next few years, if you were on an alien spaceship traveling towards Earth, you'd see thousands and thousands and thousands of little tiny satellites orbiting our planet and delivering high-speed broadband, keeping us all connected everywhere on Earth. It doesn't matter where you will be connected, and not just you, but your stuff as well.
So I'm going to give a little update while she's talking here. They've updated the map on the right side of the display here, showing the current live telemetry and the trajectory of the orbit. The first separation looks like it's not going to take place until we have gone over Canada, over the Arctic, over Asia, and are on the west side of Australia. Then we will wait for this the rocket payload device to make its way back over all of South America, and we will start seeing deployments again over the Gulf of Mexico, where we will see the other 3 or 4 deployments. So we do have a little bit of time left here right now. They're finalizing their orbit, and then we will be awaiting that payload. You can keep track based on where we are in the count, with their little bar on the bottom right-hand corner currently. The rocket standing up, that was ignition, and then we have the 2 payload deployment sections on that bar. So we do have a bit of time here until they do their full payload deployment. Of course, we will be staying live, so we're going to be answering your guys' questions. So if you have those, you can send those in using hashtag AskTLP or tag at the Launchpad, and we will be answering those live. But we'll keep listening in to hear any updates as they continue this burn. It does look like this first orbit finalization burn will be finishing up here in just a few, so maybe about 50 seconds or so. So we're going to listen in for that confirmation of a nominal burn.
The multiple launch service. We're not using a dispenser today. Our innovative engineers have attached the CubeSats directly onto the payload adapter. So we're traveling light today, and that's actually quite beneficial because it's allowed us to move our flight path 15 degrees to the right, 15 degrees east, rather, to the right. Just shows. And that's actually good because it's been able to improve our chances of launching on time. And the reason that works is because sometimes high altitude winds can delay a launch, but by moving our trajectory 15 degrees to the east, we've been able to take advantage of those winds. So yeah, it's all very clever stuff. He's telling us that the propulsion's nominal, and that's good to hear. Right now, the AVUM upper stage. And he's confirmed the upper stage has actually switched its engine off. That's what it looks like up there. Right, so we are now beginning the orientation phase. AVUM is putting itself into the separation orientation, I believe, getting itself into the correct position so that it can separate the satellite later. Here we go. It's moving around into position. We've traveled just under 6,000 kilometers. If you were to draw a line along the Earth from the launch pad. And we're now starting, well, we've started the ballistic phase, the first ballistic phase. Ballistic means that we're traveling without the engine, we're coasting without the engine. And we're also, if you take a look at the passenger, you can see we're twisting. We're actually, well, we're in the barbecue phase now. The barbecue maneuver is the technical term, believe it or not, yes? I love how they call it that. Lots of other very technical terms, but the barbecue is definitely my favorite. We're twisting as if on a spit. We're doing that to keep the temperatures homogeneous and even, because of course when you're facing the sun it's very hot, and when you're facing space it's very cold. And if you're interested, we're twisting at a roll rate of 2 degrees per second. And the trajectory is nominal. Shortly we're going to be going out of the range of the tracking stations. That's perfectly normal and it's all part of the plan. I'll let you know when the range operations manager announces that. But we'll be out of touch with the launcher for just over half an hour. We won't be getting any telemetry data from the launcher during that time. And then when we get back into range, the launcher's going to store, AVUM will store up all the information accumulated during that half an hour or so. And then when we get back into the range of the next tracking station, that's New Norcia down south in Australia, then there'll be a big download of information to that tracking station so that the teams here at the Guiana Space Centre can then find out what's happening to the launcher in real time and also analyze the information afterwards for future launches. So let's have a little chat now about our main satellite, Pléiades Neo. This is a very, very special satellite which Airbus has funded, designed and built. They already have a constellation of Pléiades satellites, and now they're launching the next generation, Pléiades Neo. There's going to be 4 of them. Arianespace is launching them all. We orbited the first one in April, and today, of course, the second one, and we'll be launching the other 2, as I mentioned, on Ariane Vega C. There we go, heading out over the North Pole now.
Attendu de la télémesure.
And we've lost our connection now. We've gone out of the range of the tracking station.
So, yeah. So they are now out of ground station range as they pass over the Arctic here. So that's why they removed that telemetry data, as now it's just it's in a coast, and they will hope it comes out on the other side. They know it will. It's in a stable orbit, and they're gonna do something on their screen. What about... Oh, so they're gonna talk about one of the satellites here. This is normally what they do during their coast phase, is kind of go through their different their different satellites that are on board and give kind of a view of how they were integrated and different things for that. So yeah, so they're showing what some of the views they'll be able to be seen with this new satellite, down to a 30 centimeter zoom in. So an extremely detailed satellite that's launching. This is kind of the big papa of the launch, and then there are some CubeSats on board as well. So let's take a quick listen in here.
Halfway through the deployment of this constellation.
A satellite constellation is a group of several satellites. They have the same function and are shared in such a way as to ensure a common mission at all times.
We have launched very successfully the first satellite in April. We got the first images, and we are very happy with that.
This picture of the Capitol in Washington, D.C. is one of the first pictures taken by the satellite, launched just a few hours ago.
L'image est choisie volontairement pour le niveau de détail. On a à la fois la structure de la coupole du bâtiment, on a toutes les marques au sol, les quadrillages blancs. On peut probablement distinguer des gens. Ça, c'est les premières images. Elles ne sont pas encore réglées.
4 months after the first launch, the Toulouse-based aerospace giant is preparing to launch the second satellite in its fleet.
On a ici une constellation de 4 satellites qui vont tourner autour de la Terre à une orbite de 620 km, donc altitude assez basse. Aujourd'hui, on lance le deuxième satellite Pléiades Neo, donc qui va rejoindre son petit frère en orbite, et à terme, on aura 4 satellites identiques.
In the case of Pléiades Neo, one of its assets is its capacity to pass several times quickly over the same area to observe any changes.
Ce qu'on appelle la revisite, on a mis sur le satellite un très gros téléobjectif. En ayant ce téléobjectif, on va avoir des détails très fins, mais on réduit aussi le champ. Donc, pour pouvoir couvrir des grandes surfaces, on a choisi de multiplier le nombre de satellites.
This constellation is a long-awaited technological revolution in the world of observation satellites. Its resolution is 4 times higher than that of its predecessors.
30 cm de résolution, c'est cette règle. Et pour fixer les idées, à 620 km d'altitude, 30 cm, si je mets Pléiades Neo à Toulouse et que je regarde Paris, je vais pouvoir distinguer une personne sur le premier étage de la Tour Eiffel.
Resolution is not the only task Pléiades Neo can perform. The satellite also has a large swathe.
La fauchée, la capacité de voir malgré tout une zone assez large, 14 km en un seul passage, c'est remarquable d'avoir réussi à maintenir une fauchée assez large en augmentant le niveau de détail.
The objective for Airbus Defence and Space's Pléiades Neo constellation is simple.
We want to take the leadership on the Earth observation market, both in a technical and commercial way.
But to achieve this, there are a few steps still to come.
We will start a new phase, which is the phase of commercialization. During the second part of 2021, we will open the different services and acquisitions of imagery to our customers all over the world.
In September, we'll qualify all the imagery products, the one that we will deliver to our customers. And in October, we will deploy the latest issue of our information system to be ready for the ground opening early November.
Pléiades Neo targets several markets, for example, mapping for general public clients like mapping agencies or large government institutions.
Ici, sur Sydney, on voit ce que permet de faire le satellite Pléiades Neo. On a accès maintenant à des détails. On a un peu l'impression de voir une image d'avion, une image de drone. On n'aura pas besoin d'aller beaucoup plus près pour faire une cartographie très détaillée de la ville.
Geolocation applications on phones or LBS, location-based services.
En couplant des images très détaillées avec le positionnement GPS, on peut avoir des applications même de réalité virtuelle pour aider les personnes à naviguer dans la ville avec leur smartphone.
It can also be useful for the maritime market. For example, images can help the Coast Guard in sea rescue operations or the surveillance of port activities.
On voit ici qu'on a passé aussi une étape par rapport aux générations précédentes. On a vraiment une capacité de décrire le navire de manière très très fine et ça change vraiment la capacité d'exploitation de ces images.
Pléiades Neo images can also be used to supplement the information received by the military with their own satellites.
Ça démontre l'apport des 30 cm de résolution. On a la possibilité de décrire finement les objets, peut-être même dans certains cas de décrire l'armement d'un avion stationné sur un aéroport. C'est vraiment un progrès énorme.
Aeronautics, forestry management or even agriculture. So many market possibilities for the constellation. On the industrial side, the work still continues.
We are getting ready to have the second batch of satellites ready for launch end of April 2022. And of course, we'll continue to add new capabilities, new features to our system, and this will never stop.
And they're constantly innovating. They're always thinking ahead and working on new technologies. It's fantastic. What will they bring us next? And isn't it remarkable that we'll be able to see a person on the Eiffel Tower from space? Gosh, such progress. So you can see how these detailed photographs of our planet have lots of different applications. And it follows that everyone's very, very keen to get their hands on these images. It's useful in so many ways. For example, just imagine startups working with artificial intelligence or companies providing analytics, say for economic purposes or environmental mapping. So many applications. I mean, you might have a company, for example, you could be monitoring car parks around supermarkets to see what the throughput is, when people are parking, when people are using the supermarkets, and then you can sell that to companies to target promotions, for example, to those people when they're there. So lots and lots of applications. And it's particularly important, of course, with the advent of driverless cars, because they need to know exactly where they are. Super accurate navigation needs two things. It needs satellite positioning, but it also needs very precise maps. And the accuracy of Pléiades Neo is going to be extremely helpful in geolocation. Another interesting application actually is monitoring storage cylinders for oil. As you know, they have floating roofs, and the satellites can detect the changing shadow of the roof as the oil goes down. So you can calculate the volume of the oil inside, and that helps to know where the oil supplies are in the world, and it can be useful for economic forecasting of the oil in the barrels. All kinds of applications. Water is another one. Pléiades Neo is going to be able to see several meters down into the water, and that's going to be very useful for example, looking for plastics and pollution. The list goes on. There are so many applications and so many people are going to want to use it. And in fact, anybody can access these images. You don't have to be a government or an NGO. Absolutely anyone can access the images. Airbus have an online platform. It's called One Atlas. And all you have to do is log in and choose what you want from their archive. Or else you could also task the satellite to collect new imagery. All satellites, however big and small, are products of passion, creativity and expertise. And you don't have to be an engineer to work in space. There are lots of different jobs. And here are two people from Airbus to tell us about their jobs. Let's watch the film.
On ne s'est jamais rencontrés, c'est la première fois.
Airbus, c'est une grande entreprise, effectivement. On a toujours l'occasion de rencontrer quelqu'un de nouveau.
Je m'appelle Frédéric, j'ai 52 ans. Je travaille chez Airbus depuis 12 ans et dans le spatial depuis 25 ans.
Je m'appelle Nelly, j'ai 37 ans. Je travaille chez Airbus depuis environ 13 ans. Je suis plutôt en fin de chaîne, toi tu es plutôt au début, dans la conception.
Je suis architecte système du segment sol. C'est la partie du système qui est localisée au sol par opposition à la partie du système qui va sortir de l'atmosphère. Et donc architecte système, c'est la personne qui est en charge de comprendre le besoin. Souvent le client veut se doter d'un système spatial, mais pourquoi faire ? Il y a un moment qui est extraordinaire, c'est quand on nous dit que le système marche. Une fois que le satellite est lancé et qu'on a des premières communications avec le sol et qu'on voit que ces données-là se transforment en une image. Et Nelly, si je comprends bien, dans l'exploitation, une fois que le programme est terminé, enfin que le système est livré, collecte d'images, programmation d'images.
Je vais utiliser son système. Le métier de tasking spécialiste, c'est opérer les satellites, c'est gérer les acquisitions des satellites. Un client a besoin d'une image, on va faire en sorte qu'il ait l'image dont il a besoin. Curieux, il faut être débrouillard, savoir bien communiquer. Pour pouvoir acquérir les images dans le temps imparti et acquérir de bonnes images, il faut prendre en compte tout un tas de contraintes. Il peut y avoir plusieurs clients au même endroit qui veulent la même image ou le même secteur. Il peut y avoir des contraintes météorologiques et il faut prendre en compte tout ça. Et donc c'est un peu comme un jeu de logique.
L'organisation, le relationnel et la curiosité. C'est un métier d'ingénierie sur lequel on ne peut pas aboutir si on n'a pas la curiosité de savoir ce que veut notre client, de savoir comment fonctionne notre sous-traitant, de savoir à quoi va servir notre système. Comme tous les petits garçons, j'ai eu ma phase astronaute, on va dire. Et par la suite, elle a fait que croître. Alors maintenant, le rêve de devenir astronaute est resté dans le passé. Petit à petit, je me suis aperçu que toute cette histoire qui s'est écrite autour du spatial, en fait, elle avait un point commun qui était l'excellence, la recherche de l'excellence dans tous les programmes. C'est ce qui m'a motivé une fois que j'ai eu mon diplôme d'ingénieur en poche.
Alors non, pas du tout. C'était pas un rêve d'enfance. Je suis arrivée dans le domaine du spatial complètement par hasard. J'ai fait une licence de géographie. Ensuite, je me suis spécialisée dans les systèmes d'information géographique et j'ai été recrutée pour travailler sur un projet de cartographie. De fil en aiguille, je suis arrivée dans l'équipe tasking, donc directement en lien avec les satellites.
Mais ça suffit pour faire naître une passion, hein,
oui, je suis très contente. Là-bas, c'était pas ce qui est prévu. Je voulais être hôtesse de l'air ou prof de danse, alors bon.
Et souvent, le spatial, on pense à des ingénieurs derrière des tableaux noirs qui écrivent des équations monumentales et affreuses. Mais il y a 1000 façons d'arriver à poser sa patte sur un programme spatial.
Les missions. Quand on part chez les clients à l'étranger, parce que c'est des clients qui ont leur propre infrastructure, leur propre antenne et reçoivent les images directement chez eux. Nous, en tant qu'équipe tasking, on part pour les former à utiliser nos systèmes. Et quand on les rencontre la première fois, ça fait toujours quelque chose. Dans l'équipe tasking, on est divisé en petites zones géographiques. Moi, j'ai surtout voyagé dans la zone du Moyen-Orient. Je suis partie au Qatar, je suis partie en Azerbaïdjan, en Turquie. Mais c'est bien, ça permet de grandir dans son métier, de prendre confiance en soi et de se dépasser.
Il y a quelque chose qui m'est arrivé récemment que j'ai vraiment adoré, c'est une photo montrant que mon nom avait été marqué sur la coiffe du satellite, la coiffe de...
We're going to jump in here because I know we had a couple questions coming in the chat, and we'll leave it on screen, and since they've got subtitles anyways, you guys can follow along there, but they're playing through a little bit. We normally try to give you these videos, but since it's not in English, you can read the subtitles as we go along. But good to see you all in here. I know some people just joining us. Want to give a shout out to Pablo for joining the Discord. Great to have you. And someone else joined, but it's not showing me your name just yet. But welcome. If you guys haven't joined yet, take a moment, join the Discord. It's totally free to join. The link is in the description. Love to invite you to be part of our community in that way. But yeah, you guys can send in any questions you have, and we'll continue answering those here tonight. I know we had a couple questions about sun synchronous orbit in the first video. They did cover it, but Stephanie gave a great description here. A sun-synchronous orbit is a nearly polar orbit around the planet in which a satellite passes over any given point of the planet at the same local mean solar time. So it's a great way for them to be able to review data and look, daily, weekly, monthly, or yearly at an exact same point. So that is what they'll be doing with these satellites. In that first video, they showed their goal is to have 4 of them. So they'll be able to go over that same location if they're in the same inclination 4 times in a possible orbit. So great to have that here. Spaceflight X, good to see you. Welcome. Thanks for being here. If you guys have questions, send those in and we'll continue answering them. 12:30 p.m. Tuesday, 12 degrees Celsius, sunny winter's day. Yeah, absolutely. Virginia, you know that Space News Pod will. Yes, I do know Will is heading down there. Will is a Team Space friend, and we've connected with him and look forward to hopefully meeting up with him while we are down there. Will's been a great support of me and getting the launch pad started over this last year, so we're thankful for his support in that way and his friendship, and we're excited to hopefully do some work together in the future, and we wish him all the best as he actually fully moves down there. I'm not fully moving down just yet. I have some commitments up here at home that still require me to be here, but we will be looking at setting up kind of a second base down there hopefully in the spring, so that it'll be a lot easier just to jump on a plane and fly down to Starbase when required, but also be able to jump on a plane and head over to Kennedy or Vandenberg for some of the big launches as well. We're seeing some replays of tonight's absolutely gorgeous launch. The weather was pretty good. I actually liked that there was some clouds. Gave some really nice looks just of that rocket jumping off of the pad there this evening. But if you're just joining us, welcome here. My name's Zach. I'm the host here at the launch pad. Here at the pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, both here on Earth and going into space over the next few years, and watching our live launch coverage of Arianespace and their Vega rocket, which has successfully put the payload system into orbit. There are 5 satellites on board that, as they described, will jack in the box out of this payload golden box here. There's no payload ejectors or anything this time. They're straight onto the main hardware of the rocket payload body. So we are awaiting that. We can see on your screen that timeline at the very bottom, progressing towards the first payload deployment, which we will be seeing 1 satellite deploy. This is when the rocket will be over Western Australia, just off the western coast of Australia, and then we will have another larger coast phase as it orbits around and comes up, and then deployment will be over the Gulf of Mexico and the United States of America. So definitely have a little bit time left here. We're about, I'd say, just over a third of the way through, almost halfway through tonight's coverage. So we've probably got about another 45 minutes or so here. So keep sending in those questions and we will continue answering them here for you guys tonight. Absolutely, James. It was a valid question. I'm glad you answered it. Right when I saw it, they started talking about it, so that's why I waited a little bit to answer it. But keep sending in those questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question or there could be an off-topic question, but generally speaking, you guys are pretty good at keeping them related. So we are glad to answer those. Anything space or spaceflight we can answer. And if we don't have an answer and our team doesn't have an answer in the Discord, we'll try to find you one. For it. Adam, great to see you here. Astro, hello, welcome. Thanks for being here. If you guys are new, take a moment, engage the like and subscribe button, helps us out. If you weren't on with us earlier today, we had some live coverage of Starbase, and while we were live, we had big breaking news that Jeff Bezos is suing NASA. So if you haven't yet, take a moment and check out that video. We break down the lawsuit of at least what we know left. Adam, hello from Austin, Texas. Hey, Adam, that's awesome. I'm excited to be down in Texas in about 5 weeks. Going to Florida first, but we are. I'm excited to get back down there. It's been a number of years since I've been in Texas and Florida. Where am I at? 15 years? 15 years or so since I've been in Florida, and probably about 6 or 7 since I've been in Texas. So excited to get back down there We're going to listen back in. Seems like they're doing some talking, so we'll hear if we hear any updates. Or watch, I'm going to click so you can listen, and they're going to start another video. But let's listen in.
In the ballistic phase, we're cruising without the engine. We're outside the range of the tracking stations right now. So I'm going to switch my microphone off for a bit and come back to you at 2:36 Universal Time. That's 11:36 at night in Kourou. And that's 4:36 in the morning here in Paris and elsewhere in Europe. We'll see you shortly.
See, what I tell you. They're going to take a break for it. So it's going to be a little bit of time here. About 10 minutes or so, they're going to resume their commentary. So we're going to hang out and continue answering questions. Marcus, show of hands, who would watch a TLP travel vlog? Oh boy. I mean, we were already somewhat talking about doing this. But yeah, let me know in the chat. What would you guys want to see included in a travel vlog? You know, obviously, like, there's packing up of the studio that we could cover. You know, obviously we'll do we've never done a studio tour here yet, but we'll do a hotel studio tour. Because of the 2 hotels we'll be staying at. So we'll see. All the time welcome. Kieran's got a hand up. Virginia says, I would love to watch it. Okay, awesome. We will, I will try to do that. I am not normally the person to bring my phone out and be like, hey guys, we're at the airport. But we'll give it a try. What would you want to see in it? Do you want, like, airplane reviews? Do you want, like, to see the food? Yeah, let me know what you guys would want to see in it. I will disclose, and you know, if you're in the Discord, you know this, I will be flying first for the whole trip. So the food, I hope, is going to be good. I've flown first a few times before, and it's been always a good experience. So here's hoping that it'll be good, so we can give an idea about that. Marcus, a mukbang? Okay. See, I was thinking Marcus and I should do a mukbang at NASA of all the astronaut foods that you can get from the astronaut shop at Kennedy. That's what I was thinking could be interesting. But let me know what you guys want to see on the trip. But of course, you can send in questions as well, and we will continue answering those. If you're just joining us, we're in a coast phase of tonight's rocket and satellite deployment. Currently, as you can see on your screen, the vessel is out of telemetry range and will be picking up that telemetry in about 7 minutes. So that's when they will resume their coverage there. And Silly, I believe you're the one that ordered the shirt. I just got confirmation that it is already in process there. So it'll be on its way soon. First class all the way. Coach 2 times. Between, like, 1, it was the seat. 2nd, it was the lounges. 3rd, it was I want luggage. And luggage is expensive. And if I'm going to pay, like, $200 for luggage, I'd rather put that $200 towards first, which then I get luggage. So there's some bonuses all the way around. Priority boarding, priority security, some stuff. So we'll take you along with us. All they really have for the astronaut food is the random fruits and ice cream. Well, it sounds like we're having a random fruit and ice cream mukbang for one of our landing pad night hangouts. So if you're in Florida, you can maybe come and join us for that. Camilla, beautiful. This is an animation, but it's still just beautiful. James, maybe can the folks at Espadre show you around the best eateries? That's a great idea, James. I hadn't thought of that. Do you know them? If not, I'll reach out to them. That would actually be really cool. They seem... I've connected with them before, briefly, but that's a really neat idea. We do have some plans of doing a Starbase tour to give you just a concept of size. I'm looking at bringing some of the models with us as well. To just do some fun photo shoots and stuff for you guys. But absolutely, that's a good idea there. Show what amenities that Starbase has as well. Absolutely, I can show you guys the one public porta potty, which I found out they've now installed. It's getting too busy. that they finally installed one. But absolutely, we can show you just a quick, outside view of the village. I don't want to intrude on the people that live there, the few people that still own houses, but the SpaceX employees, when they're there, they're on their off time. But we can definitely give you an idea of the layout of the village, but can show you some of those other amenities. Maybe we'll do some sunset streams and stuff as well. So lots of ideas there. Well, I'm going to get off for some dinner. Keep me posted on any more launches updates. Love to you all. Thanks, Virginia. Thanks so much for being here. Enjoy your dinner. And we definitely will. A couple other launches coming up in this month, but the big one, CRS 23, later at the end of the month. So definitely do that. James, I've seen them at the art show once, and they seem like really great folks. Yeah, I really want to connect with them. So I'll try to do that soon. It's a great idea. We are planning a tour of South Padre / Port Isabel, as well as a tour possibly of Brownsville with like the top 10 things to do. We're working on some videos of some ideas of like best places to watch the launch from. That way, if you guys are ever coming, we want to be able to equip you. So if you guys get to visit, you don't have to be like, oh no, where do I go? It's like, no, we just go watch this video. We know where to go. So lots of planning, but we want to hear what you guys need. Thanks for bearing with us there, everyone. I think we're back. It looks like we're back. Looks like stream's healthy. We are working on upgrading the internet in this house. We are on fiber, actually. But believe it or not, just because you're on fiber doesn't mean that it always works. So looks like they're getting ready to get that telemetry resumed here. They're doing another replay of the launch that we saw happen earlier here this evening. So we'll keep an eye on that. We're expecting telemetry to be resumed pretty much any moment now. So thanks for bearing with us through that little bit of a hiccup of internet there. And if you got another commercial, thanks for supporting us with another commercial. We appreciate it. Cole, one day you want to go to space? I do too, Cole. that is the and you know, I'm adjusting and changing my kind of mindset of one day I want to go to space to one day I'm going to space. We live in a time that you know, if you can save up and, you know, have a couple of the balls thrown your way in life, it might be possible that you were able to actually go to space. So we are excited to be watching that here together.
The launch, and now this is what it looks like up there in space. We have our Pléiades Neo satellite attached and our other 4 auxiliary passengers attached to the upper stage. It's called the Avum or Avum upper stage. Our auxiliary passengers are in those little boxes that you can see attached to the adapter. They're the deployers. They'll come out of those. But first of all, before that can happen, the Pléiades Neo satellite needs to be released onto its orbit. We've been traveling outside the range of the tracking stations, and soon we're expecting to come into the range of the new Norcia station. There's our flight path. We've been traveling north to south. We lifted off from and we've got confirmation there that we've picked up the signal in the new Norcia tracking station. And you can see our telemetry details have come back on the bottom of the screen. And we're traveling there at a speed, vitesse, of 7.55 kilometers. We're at an altitude now of 619 kilometers, and that's where we need to be to release our first satellite. We've crossed the planet. We've done nearly, I think it says 18, nearly just over 18,000 kilometers. If we were to draw a straight line along the Earth, we've traveled that distance, so it's pretty impressive. Flying now over, or heading out towards the south, the west of Australia. And he's telling us that everything's normal. So we will have downloaded a lot of information from the Avum upper stage to the tracking station in New Norcia. That information helping the teams at the Guiana Space Center, the telemetry teams, or the CVI as it's known there, to give us this telemetry in real time and let us know how things are going in real time. They then pass the information on to the range operations manager, who calls it out. Next phase will be the switching on of the upper stage. It's getting ready to switch its engines on now, back in the pre-burn phase that we saw before.
And there we can see that burn starting up.
Confirmation there that the upper stage Avum has switched its engine on, and it's now going through an orientation maneuver, as you can see there. It's quite impressive watching it. Quite impressive watching it all. It all looks like everything's happening in slow motion, but the truth is we're hurtling along at just under 8 kilometers, 7.5 kilometers per second. Per second, let me just drive that home for anyone who's never seen a launch before. Not per hour. And we've climbed now to 623 kilometers altitude. Look at the line of our atmosphere, the blue line of our atmosphere on the edge of the planet. That's what's protecting us and keeping us safe, and we need to keep it safe.
So there's that burnout, and we're gonna have a second burn here, and then we'll be waiting for payload deployment here as well.
We have to position the satellite incredibly precisely.
Stand by for
into
deployments.
Space. It needs to be orientated to a very specific set of procedures. All this has been incredibly carefully planned. It's quite beautiful to watch. You can see why some people like to call this the space ballet. That's what it looks like up there, with Avum moving the satellite into position.
It's now in position
so
for
that we
deployment.
Can then get ready
We are
to
just waiting for
separate
that
the
here in a
Pléiades
moment.
Neo
Nice
satellite.
zoomed in shot of this CGI'd animation, and there it goes.
And we have
Neo is
confirmation.
deployed.
The Pléiades Neo satellite has been separated. Very happy faces in the Mission Control Center. People have worked for many years for this. It's a big moment. A wonderful moment. And of course, it's the end of the job for some and the beginning for others, because we have the teams on the ground who are taking charge of their new baby. And they need to be concentrating very hard right now because they are operating their satellite. And of course, they'll be waiting for Neo to call home. The team there and the flight directorate all looking very happy. JPE, I wonder what that means. So we saw Pléiades Neo there moving away gracefully from the mothership. A set of springs moving it away. And
so if you're just joining us, we just had the successful deployment of kind of the big satellite of tonight, the Neo satellite, joining one of its sister ones that they launched about a month and a half or so ago. Yeah, Ryan, once the stream finishes, if you give it a few minutes, you should be able to go back and rewind, or they're going to do a replay for you right now and show you what the launch looked like. And we've had that first main deployment, and now we're awaiting that secondary deployment of the next 4 of the smaller satellites. We are probably about 40 minutes or so away from that. So we'll be live here a little bit, but of course we're going to hang out and be answering your questions, and we're hanging out in the live comms part of Discord as well. Yeah, every time they show these views, it's just a nice, beautiful, clear day. Very red rocket launch, but some great shots and tracking from the French Guiana from their launch of ELV-1 launch site there. But great to see you here. If you're just joining us, though, let us know where you're watching from. You can, as always, send in questions using hashtag AskTLP or tag us at the Launchpad. Make sure that we notice that it's a question. We try to get to those first. But we've had the payload deployment, and now we just await secondary deployment. So make sure you stay with us.
And all the information. So, good luck to everybody for the release of your satellites, and congratulations to Airbus Defence and Space. I hope everybody feels proud of themselves. It's a job well done. Very best wishes to all the teams involved in today's mission. I'm going to cut my mic off now and say goodbye. So from me, Katie Haswell, and our interpreters, and from everybody who's bringing you this live webcast, until next time, goodbye.
Okay, so we're going to hang out there, ending their kind of scheduled commentary broadcast. So we'll pull up our tunes, but we'll keep this up, of course, for you guys, so we can watch as the rest of these CubeSats make their way over Antarctica, back over South America, and then have payload deployment over the Gulf of Mexico and the United States. But continue sending in those questions, or just hang out and enjoy the tunes. If I see questions, I'll pop back on and answer those. But stay with us. You're watching our live coverage of the Arianespace deployment of 5 new satellites.
trajectoire est nominale. Attendu de la télémesure.
And if you are just joining us, welcome back here to the launch pad. You're watching our live coverage of today's Arianespace launch, and we are coming up here just a few minutes away from payload deployment. So we're going to listen back into mission control here and wait as we go through those final stages, getting ready for payload deployment. We have 4 satellites that they will be deploying here. Let's pull up the correct view here. There we go. And we're actually going to move me out of the way so you can see that full telemetry. But we have 4 payloads getting deployed in the next couple of minutes. So if you're just joining us, you can wait till the stream's over and scroll back, as you can see the launch. We've been live for just over 2 hours. Launch occurred 1 hour 41 minutes ago, and now they are preparing for their second round of deployments of the final 4 satellites here. So we're going to listen into their raw mission control audio and listen for any updates of what is occurring. They have been acquired by the Bermuda ground station, which is why we're seeing that telemetry, which is great. Now, these are small satellites that will be getting deployed. If you haven't yet, take a moment, engage that subscribe button and the like. It's a great way of helping us out. And make sure that you've joined our Discord as well. We would love to have you as part of our community. We're hanging out in live comms. And once we do this, we're going to stay in there for a little bit and hang out. Maybe play some Kerbal or some Minecraft for a little bit before we conclude the evening. But we're just waiting for payload deployment here. There's that engine burn. This is to finalize the orbit and prepare for that final deployment. Everything is nominal there. You can see on the top right of all that telemetry that kind of change that's going to happen. There's going to be a couple burns that do occur here in between their separations. Separation is scheduled to occur over the kind of just off the eastern coast of Florida and over the United States. Currently, Bermuda and St. Hubert are the ground stations sending telemetry. You can see a slight spin in the payload system here. There's no payload real launchers on this one, as these satellites have been attached directly to the main payload system and will get deployed from that. There's no CubeSat launcher like we would normally see from many options. There goes one of them, or two of them it looks. There goes another. They are on their way into their final orbits. Now we are expecting another burn here to finalize and increase the altitude just a little bit for the last round of deployment. So they do have those little launchers on the side, but a lot of the times when we see ride shares, we see much larger units. But these ones, that black cone is part of the main structure of the rocket, versus seeing actually a secondary launcher attached. So interesting to see. It's a very light payload here this evening. Some live views into their mission control there as we await for this final little burn and then payload deployment here. There goes another one. And they're applauding, which means they look like they are pretty happy. Looks like they've completed it there. And I believe with my count, that's all of them. You can see that one's shooting off into the distance. And they will have another burn, and this burn will actually be to just get rid of the payload deployment cone, so that it'll just burn up in the atmosphere on its way back. But it'll be most likely burning up over the, I think it's the Indian Ocean, it looks like, is where it'll go. But that's going to do it for the payload deployments, it looks like. We're going to keep an eye on it, see what they do. But send in any last questions. We're going to wrap it up here pretty quickly and go from there. But nice, quick, and easy. The nice big thumbs up from the director of operation there. You can see the smile through his mask for a brief second, as it looks like they are completed their mission. So with that, they are showing that live view of the payload kind of cone, and they have completed their mission here tonight. So we're going to wrap it up there for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us here. If it was your first time, I was glad to have you here. My name's Zach. I'm the host of the Launchpad. This was our live launch coverage of Arianespace's Vega launch tonight, carrying 5 satellites, 1 very large one and 4 CubeSats, into a sun synchronous orbit at 700 kilometers and 700 kilometers altitude. And they had a nice success there. Just seeing that little bit of the reflection. These animations they have are absolutely fantastic. But we're going to conclude it from there at this point. So thanks again for being here. We will be live, of course, at the end of August on the 28th for the launch of the Falcon 9 carrying the CRS-23 mission to the International Space Station, Cargo Dragon on its way up. And we're keeping an eye out for any Starlink missions that may pop up and surprise us. We know we've had as little as 72 hours or so notice. So we always keep an eye out to see if any of those will pop up, as we're coming up on almost 2 months since we've had a Starlink launch. We know they had completed their first shell and are getting ready to start working on their second and their 6th shells to be able to complete the first half of each 4. Like, they have 8 shells total, so they need to complete the first half of 1 to 4 and the first half of 5 through 8 by the end of November 2024. So they need Starship working, but they are working hard with Falcon 9 to get those done. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will see you next time. This is Zach with the Launchpad, signing off.